Many of us are drawn to various types of wood and natural objects like crystals, shells, feathers and stones. We like to adorn ourselves and our homes in these things. Perhaps this gives us a sense of connection to the natural environment, or we might feel they bring with them powerful energy from nature, which is nice, but not all energy is good. What if some things from nature don't come alone? This didn't happen to me, but to my grandmother. It would have taken place in the 1930s. My grandmother was a young teen at the time, and she lived with her mother and 5 siblings in an old house in the middle of the woods. The area was the Ozark Mountains in southern Missouri. My grandmother had got into a fight with her mother. She took off into the woods all day just to get away from her for a while. And when it got dark, she decided to come home. But by the time she got home, it was quite late, and the doors were all locked and everyone was in bed. My grandmother said that there was an old wooden cot sitting just outside the house, and she decided that she'd just sleep on the cot. In the morning, when she woke up, there was some creature sitting at the end of the cot. I remember she said it was really ugly and it had a full set of sharp teeth. It was shaped like a person, but it didn't look like a person. She said that it just sat there and smiled at her with its abnormally large mouth of sharp teeth. When she started to get up from the cot to get away, it would start to get up and move towards her. And when she would sit back down, it would sit back down. Well, she sat there staring at it for a few seconds, and it continued to sit and smile at her. The creature was sitting between her and the front door, so she finally jumped up and made a run for it to the back door. And when she got to the back door, it was locked, but her mother was in the kitchen making biscuits. So she was banging on the door, screaming to be let in, and her mother told her to go round to the front because her hands were covered in dough. My grandmother screamed that she couldn't and was frantic enough that her mother ran to let her in the back door. She told her mother exactly what she had seen. Her mother got my grandmother's 2 brothers to take the cot out to the woods, chop it up and burn it. That is terrifying. I wonder if it wasn't the first time that something had happened with that cot on the veranda. Perhaps the grandmother's mother had seen this creature herself, and that's why she didn't think twice in destroying that cot. Well, the next true account comes from the outback of my home, Australia. But first, if you enjoy my videos, did you know there are easy and safe ways to support my channel? Just take a peek at the links in the notes below. I was spending Christmas with a mate's family at their holiday home, which was in the middle of nowhere in the bush. There were about 10 of us, and another 2 of the uncles would be turning up the next day. Anyway, the place that we were staying in was really old. I'm talking at least 150 years old. And in one of the rooms was this old closet type thing. Imagine the wardrobe from Beauty and the Beast, that sort of thing. And that was the room that the youngest kid was going to be staying in because it had a single bed. Well, the youngest was about 5 years old at the time, and he was the son of one of the uncles who was turning up the next day. So I was walking around this old house when I heard the kid talking to someone in his room. I thought that someone was in there with him, so I walked in and said, "Hey, who are you talking to?" And the kid replied, "I'm talking to Charlie. He lives in the closet. He's my friend and we are going to play more later." Naturally, I thought it was just him playing around and making up an imaginary friend. So the next day, when we were sitting down to lunch and after the uncles had turned up, I said to the kid to tell his father about his new friend. When the kids said, "Oh, that's just Charlie, we're going to play again later," the father grabbed his arm and said in a kind of panicked tone, "Where is Charlie and what does he look like?" The kid responded, "He lives in the closet in my room and he has this long coat on." Both of the uncles jumped up, ran into the room, dragged the closet outside and set it on fire. I swear then we all just packed up and left straight away. But before we left, I asked the two uncles what the hell had just happened. And they said, when we were boys, that was our room, and we used to play with an imaginary friend named Charlie as well, who lived in that closet. And he was always trying to get us to come and play with him far out in the bush, away from the house and the family. So whatever it was that happened, it was enough to scare the crap out of two grown men when one of their sons mentioned an imaginary friend with the same name who lived in the closet. That is nightmare fuel right there. You know, almost any object in our home could have something attached to it. Otherworldly or interdimensional spectres or creatures could use any everyday object as a bridge to reach us. This last story relates to an object almost guaranteed to be in your home right now. I was about 12 years old and I woke up in the middle of the night needing to use the bathroom. I walked across the hall to the little bathroom. I hit the lights and was about to reach for the toilet when I glanced up and saw a face in the mirror. It was not my face. It was as if someone was on the other side, standing to the right with their face right next to the glass, staring at me. I only saw it for the briefest moment, but it is seared into my brain. I screamed and ran out of there to find my dad. Of course, my dad came and investigated and then calmed me down, or tried to. Eventually, we had to have a prayer session because I was so freaked out, after which I guess I must have gone back to sleep. Fast forward to my 30s and I'd forgotten all about the whole event. One night, while visiting, my dad quietly brings it up. He says, "Remember that one time you saw a face in the mirror?" Well, it suddenly came back to me in a rush of memory and it sent a chill down my spine. "Yeah, I remember," I said. "Well," he said, "I sometimes think about that night." He looked down at the floor with a serious expression and said, "I saw it too." And he went on to describe exactly what I'd seen. We have no idea what that was, but apparently, he said, when he investigated, he saw it and had a freak out of his own, and that the prayer session we had was as much for his own nerves as for mine. You know, I respect my dad for keeping that tidbit from me until I reached my 30s, but actually, I kind of wish that he'd never told me at all. I hope you enjoyed these true tales. Have you ever had an inexplicable experience with an object of any kind? Let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button on your way down there. Remember, it's a strange world. Keep your eyes and ears open and be kind. Cheerio!